I think you have to have the power of law to compel the companies to use local goods and services.
Given his experience, Kevin Ramnarine, a strategic energy advisor and former energy minister of Trinidad, said the use of Guyanese goods and services should not be left to oil companies.
If you leave it up to the good intentions of the multinationals, you're probably not going to get the impact that you want.
Ramnarine reasoned that in the formative years of the industry in Guyana, it might be difficult to get everything that is needed locally, and that has to be taken into consideration.
In the 1960s and 1970s, what Trinidadians supplied to the oil and gas industry was rented cars, rented homes, food. That has now changed. So a lot of the mudlugging and cementing and drilling are Trinidadian companies now. So that takes time. That took almost a generation for that skill set to really emerge in Trinidad, to the point now where we export those skill sets around the world.
Ramnarine warned, however, that a local content law could be challenged for violating rules of the World Trade Organization, with Guyana being accused of creating a non-tariff barrier. He also pointed to the fact that at times defining what local content is can be difficult.
That's a very broad term. So, for example, a Trinidadian goes to Houston and he buys some pumps. And he comes to Trinidad and sets up a business and he sells the pumps. Is that local content? Right? So we have had this debate as to what is local content. And it has a lot to do with the percentage of the value that comes from inside your country.
Speaking at the same event Tuesday at Duke Lodge in Kingston, Georgetown, Ralph Ramkaran, former Speaker of the National Assembly, said past practices could help develop a clear picture of what local content in the oil and gas industry could mean. In decades past, Ramkaran said any ship that came to Guyana or had business to do in Guyana had to have a local number of stevedores employed. Otherwise, they wouldn't get their goods offloaded or unloaded at the wharves. But that policy was somehow lost and nobody bothered about it. And as a result, the stevedore industry died, with many giving up work in the shipping industry to take up other jobs here or migrating to work in the industry elsewhere. Ramkaran agreed that there needs to be legislation dealing with local content.
There are many organizations like Guy Oil, for example, which hire ships that bring oil to Guyana that have only Filipino seamen. Good luck to the Filipinos. But what about when you hire ships, you ask them to put a certain number of Guyanese stevedores. Otherwise, we will go and search for other vessels, other ship owners who are willing to do that. None of that was ever tried. So we lost out on that at that time. At some time in the future, I suppose somebody will look at the stevedoring industry. Well, that is what local content means. Unless you put a law in, even your friends are unwilling to help you with local content.
Deodat Indar, president of the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry, said Guyanese would not get jobs or their goods and services would not be used by the stroke of a magic wand. He said that Guyanese businesses must develop to be able to meet demands.
The oil and gas industry will be a huge consumer. What it consumes, Guyana should be able to provide that consumption, either in goods or services. What we can do now, let's do, as we grow as a country, we can be able to migrate into supplying them. But we cannot be asleep all the time and expect things to get on it.
The Stabroek Block, which ExxonMobil and its partners are developing, is located approximately 120 miles offshore Guyana and is 6.6 million acres. The company in June said it and its partners would spend $4.4 billion in developing